Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and I'm looking today at a book from Edward Elgar Publishing. It's called Individualism and Collectiveness in Intellectual Property Law. It's this purple book here. It's written by Jan Rosen, who's Professor of Private Law at Stockholm University. There's some blurb on the back. It's an ATRIP intellectual property book in that series. The book itself has a nice little index, which you can see, and it's got nice paragraph numbering, which you can see at the sides there, and it's also got very detailed footnotes, which is to be expected for an Edward Elgar publication. It's very high standard academically again. It's some useful opening remarks on the ATRIP conference right at the beginning, the Congress rather, right at the beginning, and you've got a large number of contributors which you can see listed there. We've put the review on the web and in journals, and we've given it the title Individualism and Collectiveness in Intellectual Property Law, a collection of academic papers from the ATRIP conference in Stockholm. I'm going to call it a conference, it was a congress as well, depending on what you want to call it. This is published by Edward Elgar as part of the admirable ATRIP intellectual property series, and the book should have an immediate appeal, in our view, to IP law scholars everywhere. Certainly worldwide, because obviously it's a worldwide matter. ATRIP stands for the International Association for the Advancement for Teaching and Research in Intellectual Property. ATRIP is much easier. The book therefore assembles the work of prominent academics from most countries around the globe, from China and the US to many European countries, all of whom were assembled at the 2010 ATRIP Congress held in Stockholm. In keeping with the intention of the series, the book aims to represent a full and dynamic picture of contemporary high-level IP research in an international setting. That's exactly what it does, and it's extremely useful. The fundamental aim of the Congress, very reassuring to creative types we know, was to embrace fundamental, eternal and yet very contemporary elements in IP law, with the emphasis on classic IP law values aimed at protecting individual human creativity based on an attitude of respect for original ownership. That is the theme that runs through IP nationally and internationally. You're all well aware of it if you go to the cinema. You see some of the ads at the moment about stealing people's intellectual property. The individual chapters include the necessity to collectivise copyright, the dangers involved, and two perspectives on the Google book settlement, for instance. So it's a very contemporary and a very important 21st century book. For those involved in the field of intellectual property, this book provides much information and food for thought based on what we would conclude is much original, thorough and extensive research by a very select and talented grouping of specialists in this field of law. So if you're a specialist IP lawyer, the book is certainly interesting reading. Obviously it's academic in its main theme, but it does cover a much wider area, and we would have thought it's an essential purchase for your library if that's your preferred practice area. But I'd like to thank certainly Jan Rosen and all of the contributors, plus Edward Elgar, for an excellent contribution to the current IP debate. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.